Yo, AlphaMan1 here. I haven't made any videos in a while. I was in the process of moving, but now I'm finally moved in and got everything hooked back up. This is my new place, and this will be my first video. And I'm gonna start off. I just watched a couple of videos by a guy called Good Mike Work, and dude, I gotta start off by saying I pretty much agree with most everything you said. Although I don't think you really give TNA a chance. Yes, admittedly, Hogan and Bischoff are going to bring TNA to a screaming, crashing halt. It's going to be totally fucked up, but whatever. And I think, most people believe that Hogan's going to make his fucking heel turn at Bound for Glory. That's not a huge surprise. I would agree with you on Triple H. Now, as far as like John Cena, Batista, those kind of clowns, I may not be a fan of either one of them, but I get why they do what they do. I understand why Cena's the face of the company. He puts butts in the seats, same as Batista. They get the people there, and as long as they're getting the people there, they're gonna be at the top. Of course, Batista at this point in time no longer. I guess he retired or whatever. It doesn't really make a difference. The biggest issue that I see with the WWE is that they're doing basically the same thing that TNA's been doing. They're bringing back the old guys. Bret Hart, they brought him back, 3 or 4 times now? And I got nothing against Bret Hart. I like him. He was, one of my favorites growing up. But, it's like I heard KO and JJ say in their review of WrestleMania 26 a few months back. Dude's had 2 major concussions and a stroke. I don't seriously think he should be in the ring. Maybe if you have him come out as a manager, that's cool. Manager. That's fine. And as far as the PG era is concerned, I don't personally like it. But it is good business sense. I get why Vince is doing it. I do. I may not agree with it. I may like the Attitude Era. And I think most people, I don't think they want to see the Attitude Era come back. But I think they want to see a little bit more. I think they like seeing guys take a chair shot to the head every now and again. I think they like to see somebody get busted open. People like that stuff. Yeah, maybe parents won't like it. Maybe, the over-religious Bible thumper types, and I'm not trying to be prejudiced towards anybody, just for the record. But I think that those type of people, they have a certain standard, and they... this is the kind of thing they like to see in pro wrestling if they're going to see pro wrestling. Even though Vince McMahon won't call it that. Why, I don't know. It's what it is. Sports entertainment, what the fuck ever. It's pro wrestling. Simple as that. But as far as pretty much everything else you said, I pretty much agree. TNA will never, ever be able to compete with the WWE unless some big-time bazillionaire buys out the company, like if Bill Gates or God forbid Donald Trump was to buy TNA, then maybe it would have a chance, but I don't see that happening, so quite honest, I don't think they're ever going to be able to compete with the WWE. But I think right now that only just barely they're putting out just a little bit better right now because their storyline is just a little more interesting. And that's not for, lack of effort or anything. WWE's trying. They got a lot of their current big names, Sheamus for one, and some of these other new guys that are really trying, but they kind of ran the whole Nexus thing into the ground way too fast. If they'd gone a little slower with it, built it up like they used to do with factions, it might have actually ended up a little bit better. Who knows? I guess what I'm saying is that I'm just a little disappointed in the WWE right now. I know they can put out a better product than this, and the evidence of that is the last 2 years at WrestleMania, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. Now, that's not a match you're going to see at every pay-per-view. And I'm not saying it's possible to have a match like that at every pay-per-view, but come on. Some of these pay-per-views in the recent times have just been kind of lackluster. There's just been nothing there. They've had 1 or 2 good matches here and there, but some of them have just been bad pay-per-views. And it's not for lack of trying by the superstars, or maybe it's not even the writer's fault. It just didn't come out the way they envisioned it. But, whatever. There is one thing about the WWE that I have to comment on. I am sick and fucking tired of Michael Cole. I don't like listening to this fucking retard, okay? The guy, if I hear him say, and I quote, one more time, I'm gonna slap the TV. Or if I happen to be at the arena when he says it, I'm gonna jump over the goddamn railing and slap him in his fucking head. You don't need to tell everybody that you got an email from the general manager. I think everybody's figured that one out. And you don't need to say, I quote. We get it. The general manager's saying it, not you. And by the way, when did this whole vintage goddamn thing start? Vintage. Fuck you. No more vintage. And I quote, vintage should not be your catchphrase. You're trying to be the next JR, and let me tell you something, Michael Cole, it's not gonna happen, okay? There will never be an announcer like good old JR. Jim Ross is one of the greats of all time. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler are quite possibly the best announced team that there ever has been. I'm sorry, I just don't particularly like Michael Cole. I used to, back when he was one of the kind of announcer guys that just chilled in the back and what have you. That was cool. You know, he was, the guy who always interviewed The Rock, and The Rock made fun of him, just tormented him. Or, like DX, one of the famous clips at DX, and Shawn Michaels has him by the throat, or by the front of his shirt, actually, and he's bouncing him up and down. Hey, that was cool. Also, going back to John Cena, like I said, I'm not a huge fan, but the guy does work hard. I give him that much. And I understand why they have him where they have him. But seriously, he doesn't need to be in another title match. He's had plenty of title matches. I mean, damn. Or in the words of Ron Simmons, damn. I think you gotta put somebody else in there. I understand why they wouldn't put The Miz in there since he's Money in the Bank right now, but, find somebody else. There's so many other superstars that you could push up there. I actually kind of hoped that the last guy was going to be Triple H, personally. I think Triple H, it's about time for Triple H to come back. I'm a fan of Triple H. I like him. Sure, maybe he plays politics in the back, but you know what? He gets shit done. He puts on a damn good match. So, do with that what you will. Hey. As far as TNA goes, fuck Ric Flair. I'm sorry. He is one of the greats of all time. But, dude, seriously, you're like, what, 200 years old now? Give it up, dude. I mean, at this point, you don't even have to do anything. You just look at Ric Flair and he starts bleeding. Right? And since they can't show that, they just show, I think every time you see Ric Flair, it's actually an image of him in a mirror or something, so that he doesn't bleed. But the main thing is I think you keep Fortune. I like the idea of Fortune. It's a good heel faction. All these guys that they put together, Frankie Kazarian, AJ Styles, Matt Morgan, Doug Williams, Beer Money, I think it's actually a good heel faction. You haven't had a good one in a long time. I mean, okay, maybe Evolution, but I'm talking about TNA. TNA hasn't really had a good heel faction. They haven't really had any good factions, aside from maybe the Beautiful People, but that didn't last very long. The bottom line is you just don't need Flair. And while I'm on that subject, let's talk about another old bucker who's past his prime, Hulk Hogan.
Fuck you, Hogan.
Dude, yeah, what he said. Fuck you, Hogan. What the fuck do you think you're doing?
This is D-Jose 101, by the way.
There is absolutely no reason that... I mean, I get what they were doing. And it's cool. Yeah, Hogan's possibly the biggest name ever in professional wrestling. But the guy is like... He's like 150 to Ric Flair's 200. He's just that much younger than Ric Flair. The guy can't go anymore. He's got a bad back. He comes out, talks shit, and leaves.
He can barely walk.
Yeah, besides which he can barely walk. And I don't know about Eric Bischoff. I think Bischoff has some good ideas. He knows what he's doing. But I think in the end, he and Hogan are just going to trash the company. If they go the way most people think they're going to go, that's just the way it's going to be. And it's unfortunate. So you at least get rid of Hogan and Flair. That's just stupid. I said from the beginning, when I saw that Bischoff was there, you got Bischoff, Hogan, and Nash Those three guys, that's a bad combination. And then you bring in Scott Hall and X6 fucking pot, whatever the fuck you want to call him. Sean Waltman. You bring this guy, you bring these guys in too? This is just like setting you up for the recreation of the NWO, even though, technically speaking, Sean Waltman wasn't there at the beginning, but that's beside the point. Look, bottom line is, if they recreate the NWO, this is going to be extraordinarily bad for TNA. It's not the way to go. I stopped liking the NWO in 1997, okay? Like at the beginning of 97. Because by that point, it seemed like everybody and their mother was a member of the NWO. And at that point, it just becomes stupid. Change the name from WCW to NWO Wrestling, because, fuck it, everybody's NWO by this point anyway. But I digress. If TNA wants to have a chance of surviving, get rid of Hogan, get rid of Flair, and you may or may not get rid of Bischoff, or at least don't have him, you know, in this capacity that he is now. Just have him chill in the back. Oh, the other guy that they have is Vince Russo. Some people don't know this. Vince Russo is part of TNA's creative team. For those who didn't watch WCW, Vince Russo was part of the reason WCW died. Okay? Well, it was him, Hogan, and Nash. And I swear to God, if I start seeing shit like that fucking finger poke of doom bullshit in TNA, TNA's, at that point, if it gets to that, TNA's done. And TNA tried to compete with WWE earlier this year. Didn't fucking work. Bottom line. They never will. Well, I guess that's it for me for right now. And I will post another video soon, so we'll talk to you later.